Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Em, and if you watched my most recent reading vlog, which was for Camp Witchwood Readthon, then you saw that I redid my shelves and I rainbowed them like I do every summer. It's so pretty. I'm still getting so much joy out of that. But I also showed that I unhauled some books in that process. So today we are just gonna do an unhaul video and I'm gonna show what I'm getting rid of. Some of these things are gonna be going on my Pango storefront thing. So I will link that down below if you see anything you're interested in, but I don't want anyone by any means to feel obligated to buy any of these books for my Pango. And I'm definitely not going to list all of them because there are some that are in pretty rough shape, or I just don't think anybody is interested in paying money for them, so they'll go into a little free library. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. I have these in zero order, so I am just going to, I guess, go from the top of the stack to the bottom of the stack. First book I'm going to be getting rid of is Catwoman by Sarah J. Maas. I really loved this book when I first read it. I love Catwoman. I typically am a big fan of Marvel superheroes, but I love DC supervillains. I think DC does a great supervillain, and Catwoman is, of course, one of my favorites. And Sarah J. Maas wrote a Catwoman story, and I really loved it, but I have since outgrown Sarah J. Maas, and this is like the last of her books that I had held on to purely for nostalgic reasons, but I really am not going to reread this, and so there's no point in keeping it around. So that will go to a little free library. I am also unhauling Bluebird by C.L. Perlot. This is a sci-fi space opera that I read earlier in the year, and it was fine. And I'm not keeping this fine books, so that will go out. I also have an arc for Finally Seen by Kelly Yang that I've been holding onto for months and months and months, and this book is out. I really love Kelly Yang, but I also have this on audio, and I do not need 2 copies of her books, and I really do not hang on to arcs at all. So I'll get rid of this, and when I'm ready to read this, I will just listen to the audiobook because I find her audiobook narrators are really wonderful. I'm also getting rid of The Dark Lord Clementine. I read this for middle grade March. This is about Clementine, whose father is a Dark Lord, and she has always thought that she would be replacing him as his heir. And so she has done all this stuff to make her seem as evil as possible. And then her father gets sick and kind of leaves her to try to undo the curse that is making him sick. And yeah, and it was lovely, but I am not going to probably reread it, and none of my kids are super interested in it. So we're going to pass it along so it can find a reader who will be interested in it. This one is definitely going up on my Pango. I am going to be unhauling my Illumicrate edition of Some Desperate Glory. I tried to read this earlier in the month, and I really loved Emily Tesch's fantasy duology, but this one, I don't like the main character. The world is so harsh. There's some content warnings in the beginning that are kind of deal breakers for me. I don't like to engage with stories with those themes, and so while I am so sad to get rid of such a beautiful book, this is just not for me. I'm also getting rid of The Power of Mercy. This is Fiona Zedde. This is a lesbian superhero novella. It is I don't know if it's indie pubbed or if it's super small press pubbed, but I impulse bought this a number of years ago when I was going through like a lesbian superhero phase, which I do not regret. That was an awesome phase to go through. But I have tried to pick this up multiple times and I've never been able to get past the first page. So not that it takes up that much space on my shelf, but I just decided this is not for me for right now, clearly, if I have yet to get it. I haven't even gotten it on a TBR, let alone been able to like read through the first page, but I don't know. Now I'm rethinking it. Maybe I should like give it a shot before okay, I'm putting it in a maybe pile. We'll do that. That's fine. That's the only book I'm doing that with. I cannot go through this Unhaul and change my mind about books. I'm also going to DNF 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I haven't read this one either. I was really wanting to when it first came out, and I had a friend send me her copy, which was so sweet of her. But ultimately, I have really moved away from romance. And even before I moved away from romance, I don't like really emotionally heavy romance. That's not why I go to that genre. So maybe I will come back around and read this someday. Maybe I'll get to a spot where romance is a really big part of my reading life again, or I'll get to a place where I am really comfortable with heavy emotional themes in books, but I am not there right now. And this is a weird analogy. It's like how you're not supposed to hang on to clothes that don't fit you anymore. Like, you should just have clothes that you feel good wearing, or, you shouldn't keep clothes that make you feel bad about yourself. And so I don't want to keep a book that doesn't fit who I am as a reader on the off chance that someday I may want to read it. Like, that's what the library is for. Did that work? I don't think that analogy worked. That's okay. But either way, unhauling this one. Okay, now I think everything else I have either read or I have attempted to read. So I'm unhauling Bright Storm by Vashti Hardy. This is another middle grade. I read in middle grade March about twins who go on an expedition to find their father, who has been lost on his expedition. And again, it was fine. It was entertaining. My twins have no interest in reading it, and I am not going to be rereading it. So that is moving on. I'm DNFing my, or not DNFing. I'm unhauling my ancient copy of The Secret Garden. I might not even put it in a little free library. I might just recycle it. This book is tore up. I've had this book for such a long time. And I haven't read Secret Garden in years and years and years. And if I do, I could just get myself a prettier edition. So this one's leaving. Also, Hazel Bly in the Deep Blue Sea by Ashley Herring Blake. I read this with my daughter, I think right after it came out. And while we both liked it, this has some really, really heavy themes. Like, I really recommend Ashley Herring Blake's middle grade. I think she's such a good middle grade author. I love that there is queer girl rep in her middle grade books with her protagonists. But this one really deals heavily with grief and with the death of a parent and with suicidal ideation. And so it's just so heavy. And my daughter that I read this with doesn't read realistic fiction anymore, really. And I'm not going to reread this because it was just too sad. I'm also getting rid of How I Paid for College and Attack of the Theater People by Mark Aceto. I loved this duology when it first came out. I thought they were so fun. I don't even remember what the plot is, except it's like in the 80s. And the main character is gay and is in theater. And I remember these being really fun. But y'all, I read these before I had children. And I have carried them with me from place to place when we have moved, and I have never reread them. So as much as I enjoyed them, it is really time for them to move on. Though I do have to check with my husband and make sure he's okay with these books leaving the house before I officially get them out the door. Also going to unhaul Dear Martin by Nick Stone. Again, fantastic book. I really loved it when I read it. I'm probably not going to reread it, and if I do want to reread it, I can get it from the library. So yeah, and I would love to put this in a little free library so somebody else can find it and read it. Are you sensing a theme? Because I am. I'm also unhauling A Caribbean Heiress in Paris by Adriana Herrera. I tried to read this earlier this month and DNF'd it because the hero came across a little too predatory for me. I have moved on from the alpha, possessive, intense hero, and I like myself a sweet, snuggly cinnamon roll hero. Somebody will love this book, so I don't feel sad about it. Also, my super beat up copy of The Mysterious Benedict Society. This was a used library copy, and wow, look at it's just a mess. This one actually probably go in recycling too. It's just so beat up. And my kids aren't interested in it. And if they become interested in it, I will be happy to buy a new copy for them. Next up is The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan. I used to love Jenny Colgan. I might still. I haven't read her in a long time. But I read this for a book club, and while it was really good, it does go to a pretty dark place emotionally, where like my whole book club was kind of caught off guard because the two of us that had read Jenny Colgan before had assured everyone that no, she writes really cozy, lighthearted books. There's not going to be anything super serious or super dark. And then of course there was like a really emotionally heavy plotline in this book. I've never reread it, and my mom has read it. I let my mom borrow it. I've let a couple friends borrow it. It served its purpose. It can go live its best little free library life. And the rest are romances. First up is Every New Year by Katrina Jackson. I read this on New Year's Eve. Which year was it? 2021. Loved it. So fun. Will not reread it though, so it can go to someone else. Also, Roller Girl by Vanessa North. This is a contemporary romance set in Florida. It's a lesbian romance. The main character is a trans woman. It is fantastic. Do not confuse this with the middle grade graphic novel that is also called Roller Girl. That is very different, but this is really fun. I just don't think I'm going to reread it. Untouchable by Talia Hibbert. I'm also going to Unhaul. Again, read it a couple years ago. Really liked it. I love Talia Hibbert. She is one of my favorite romance authors. Still, even as I'm struggling with romance, I still can read her books and really enjoy them. But this one is a nanny romance, and I don't like children in romance. So, and if anybody's going to make me like children in romance, it is Talia Hibbert, and she did a good job. But I'm not going to reread it, so it can go. Next is Wolf Gone Wild by Julia Cross. This is book 1 in the Stay a Spell. This is a romance between a werewolf and a witch. Again, liked it. I had a fun time with it. But I don't feel any desire to continue on with the series, and I'm not going to be rereading this. And if I do, I'd probably reread it on audio, because I did dual read this with the audiobook and really enjoyed the narrators for this book. And then the last one I'm going to get rid of is She Came from the Swamp by Darva Green. This is a sapphic monster romance, and I forced my book club to read this when I was going through a monster romance phase. And I don't remember how I felt about this. I think I liked it. I don't know that we ever actually talked about it for book club. I think I was the only one that read it. I think it was a good time. I don't know. I'm gonna unhaul it, so it doesn't matter anymore. So that was what will hopefully be a short and sweet unhaul video. If you're interested in any of these, like I said, my Pango is going to be linked down below. I might have them listed by the time this goes live. I might not. I don't know. I'm in summer parenting mode now, so time is a construct, and I am getting things done when I'm getting them done is basically how the summer is going to go, I think. I got real used to having 2 hours after I was done with work, before I had to pick the kids up, and using those 2 hours to get things done. And now that I don't have that uninterrupted time to get things done, I'm struggling to figure out when I get all those things done now that they're not in school. So wish me luck as I continue to adjust. It's only the first week. I'm sure I will figure it out. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, thank you for spending your precious time with me. I appreciate it so much. If you want to leave a comment but don't have anything to say, let's leave. I mean, I feel like a book stack emoji is too obvious. Let's leave a wolf emoji or dog emoji, something like that, because of the werewolf romance. And yeah, that is it from me for now. So I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye.